Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I got a question from Richard Rogge, R-O-G-G-E, and he writes this. You have talked about different venues or markets that a magician can work in. I was wondering about churches. Are they a viable market? Do they tend to only want magic with a gospel message? Let me tell you my story and my point of view on this. And again, it's very personal. I realize that a significant percentage of the people that are watching this video or watching me on a regular basis do not believe in the religious convictions that I have. And that's fine. That's the way the world works. You believe what you believe and I believe what I believe. That's the way the world works. We respect each other. We love each other. We work together. We entertain together. We have differences of opinion. I am a seminary graduate. In other words, I went to undergraduate. I studied psychology in undergraduate school. I moved to Springfield, Missouri for 3.5, almost 4 years. I worked on my Masters of Divinity while I was out there. My intention was to become a professional minister. A full-time minister. I never achieved that goal, and I'm not sure it's relevant why, but I never achieved that goal. But I've always had the desire to be in ministry. I had 2 part-time youth pastorates. I had a part-time adult Christian education, and currently I'm serving as a part-time pastor. I'm preaching every Sunday in 2 different churches. I prepare a sermon every single week, and I deliver that sermon in 2 different churches every single Sunday, and that's a part-time job. In addition to that, I visit homebound people. In addition to that, I'm beginning to work on the publications there's a collective of 11 churches that I work for, and I'm working on publications for those. So I'm very busy and I'm very active in the church. And so this question hits me where I live. Now, when I decided to become a full-time professional magician, I focused on certain markets. The retirement centers I've spoken about, they are the least, they pay the less of anyone. But they're fairly stable, and you can get those gigs relatively easily. Then you've got preschools and elementary schools and Cub Scouts and Girl Scouts and on and on and on the list goes. I have not done a residency. I've had a residency years ago, but I don't have one currently. Residencies are important, but this is not about being a professional magician. It's about church markets in particular. When I started performing professionally, I decided I wanted to do gospel magic, not as a completely, not as a. Some people have made a living in gospel magic. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be a local entertainer. I wanted to be a family entertainer. But I wanted to do gospel magic as an aside. And I decided that I was going to send out a letter. And I'm going to put some of the letter down below so you can see this, because my approach is Dwayne Laughlin's approach. Oh, and by the way, this is Dwayne's book right here. If you are at all interested in gospel magic, this book is no longer in print. However, you can pick up used copies fairly inexpensively. Greater Gospel Magic by Dwayne Laughlin. Dwayne and I approach gospel magic the exact same way, with the exact same respect, with the exact same values, and I'm going to share a little bit of that with you. I actually started doing it before I knew that Wayne advocated for it. Dwayne advocated for it. So I would create a letter. And so the letter was typed, but I hand signed each letter. And then I would hand write the name of the pastor or youth pastor and their church name and their address. And I would send that letter. And that's how I marketed to churches. Now, here's what I said. My ministry engages parishioners, and it is a powerful outreach tool for those who are seeking. Gospel magic has often been referred to as visual parables. The visual element creates a memorable object lesson. I'm a professional magician and family entertainer. I'm also a pastor and devoted Christian with a Master of Divinity degree. In addition to my services as an entertainer, I also offer Christian presentations. Jesus used stories and parables to communicate the message of God's love. Presenting the Christian message through magic is my gift and my calling. I would cherish the opportunity to present at your church. I do not charge a set fee for a gospel presentation. Instead, I accept any gift of any amount you may wish to offer. That is critical. That is critical. When I reach out to a church, my mentality is, this is a ministry. I'm giving. I'm not getting, I'm giving. I want to present gospel magic because I believe in the gospel, not because I think it's profitable. And so I don't do this for any other market but the church market. When I go after a church, I say, I want to say this again, I do not charge a set fee for gospel presentations. Instead, I accept any gift of any amount you may wish to offer. I've had churches, I've done hour-long presentations. I've had churches give me $100. I've had churches give me $700. So, and I say, thank you so much. Thank you so much. God bless you. I appreciate it. Because I didn't go there to pick up a check. I went there to share the gospel. And Dwayne, who, by the way, makes his living as a professional full-time gospel magician, has pretty much the same approach. He does not turn churches away because they can't afford him. Now, sometimes he will charge, if he's traveling across the country, he will ask for reimbursements for travel expenses. I don't travel across the country. I'm local. There are 3 or 4 states that I perform in, and I can more or less drive. Now, it might take me 3 or 4 hours to get somewhere, but I can more or less drive to where I'm going and get back on the same day. So I don't charge for travel expenses. But I do. This is my approach. I don't necessarily think it should be yours, but it's my approach. So the question is it a viable market? Well, the answer is yes. Of course it is. Of course it is. But there is a lot of distrust. There's a lot of different kinds of emotions and feelings about magic and about magicians. And so you have to be willing to give. And you have to be willing to meet with people and answer their questions and meet their criteria. And so I was willing to do that. I've worked in a lot of churches. I've done a lot of gospel magic. And as I mentioned, I've had gifts ranging from all kinds of, all across the gamut. So, is it a viable market? Yes, it is. But only if you're sincere. Do not enter this market if you think you're going to pick up a buck. That's the wrong motivation. You enter this market because you want to share the gospel that's in your heart. You want to touch people's lives with that message. If that's not your motivation, you don't belong in this market. And that churches will quickly find you out. So stay away from it. In short, if you're an evangelist, this is a great market for you. If you're not an evangelist, you don't belong in the market. That's my opinion. Do they tend to only want magic with a gospel message? Most of the time. I do get an occasional invite to do something. For example, a church is putting on a dinner, and they think that entertainment can attract more people into the dinner. A lot of churches use these dinners to raise money for their church because their parishioners are not tithing. So they use these supplemental activities to try to raise money to meet their operating expenses. So I've been hired to come in and entertain without gospel magic in that kind of a setting. Again, though, I'm working for the church. I don't ask them for particular fees. That's just my own, and it's Dwayne's, and a lot of gospel magic magicians do that. But I'm not saying you need to. You can have whatever fees you want, and churches, if you say this is my fee, churches will pay it. But I've worked in a lot of poor churches that honestly could not afford to have someone come in if someone required a fee. So, and I've been paid by them. But again, it's a ministry. It's on a whole different level for me. So anyway, Richard, thank you so much for the question. For those of you who are not interested in gospel magic, don't watch the video, right? Anyway, please comment down below. I'd love to hear your comments. Please subscribe if you've not done so already. Have a great day.